Hello and welcome to ForMorSport, episode 16, so where we talk about all things football, and I'm really looking forward to discussing with Roger and Keith today what's been going on in the world of football. Chris has to give his apologies as unfortunately his flight was delayed and so he's not with us today. But we have Roger and Keith in the house. How are you guys doing? How are you?
Yeah, fine,
I'm
thanks.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. This is good. So, as you may know, well, I've been away as well. It was a bit of a madness to try and get a good signal where we were on holiday, but unfortunately, it didn't work out as I'd hoped. It didn't work. So, hopefully, we will have a good signal today, and we will have a great show. It has, as always, been a great week of football. I don't know. It's amazing what happens in a week of football. I'm just gonna. It's funny. I'm with two gentlemen today who may or may not be happy with what's been going on in football, but I'm smiling because at the moment it seems like things are going in the right direction. And good evening to you, Mark Fraser. How are you doing? You were very unfortunate Newcastle result at the weekend. Very unfortunate, but you're definitely going in the right direction. So I'm just gonna read out a couple games, and I just want you to tell me what was going on at the time. Okay, this is to both of you. So, 3 games ago, Chelsea, they play West Ham, they win 1-0. Great game. Same day, same weekend, Liverpool play Manchester United. 4 goals are scored, and all 4 of those goals went into the Manchester United goal. Then we have those 2 teams, Manchester United and Chelsea, they play each other. And they grind it down to a 1-1 draw. Now, Roger, when you went ahead, did you think this is it now? We're going to secure a win here, and this is going to be how it will end. What was your take when the first goal went in?
I hope we would.
Yeah.
I thought that we've got in front, we got our noses in front, and I hope they'd push on. But then they did a Chelsea, didn't they? And I don't know what's wrong with the club at the moment or what's wrong with the team, and ended up managing to snatch a draw from the jaws of victory. That's very flat with Chelsea the last couple of games because they've just been a bit rubbish, really. But I did think we might go on and do it, but no, they didn't, did they? Unfortunately, Ronaldo, first time he's ever scored against Chelsea, would have to be that day.
Hello, Mrs. Morrison. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for popping in. So, Keith, on the flip side to that, you go 1-0 down. Did you think it was with the run of play at the time when Chelsea won, or were you thinking, "Oh, now this could be Chelsea may run away with this"? What was your take when you went 1-0 down?
I mean, as ever, we're conceding a lot of chances and we're conceding a lot of space. But it's an interesting take because you've got a Chelsea team that can't seem to take chances. And that seems to be their problem at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, the Reece James effort, he really has to score. He really has to score there, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So I suppose in many ways it was just that's been the story of the season really for United. We are relying on teams. Well, we're either relying on our goalkeeper, who is fantastic and was fantastic again. He always is.
Yeah.
Or we're relying on teams not being able to finish. That said, when you've got Cristiano Ronaldo in your team, you've always got a chance, haven't you? And that's just the way it goes. It was great to see Matic get an assist. I know he's on a bit of a farewell tour at the moment. He'll be off at the end of the season, but I always liked him. What's that? Do
you know where he's going?
No idea. I don't know if he knows. I don't know if he knows. But I know he said he's off at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I guess he's the common denominator. He's been a good servant for us. He's been a good servant for Chelsea for a few years as well, wasn't he? So solid player. Obviously, his legs are a bit long in the tooth now, and he doesn't get much game time. But yeah, he's a solid player. It was also great. I mean, another common denominator between United and Chelsea is one matter. I would actually quite like to see us maybe thrash something out with him. I've always liked him. I fear that we've ruined his career. He's a man who should have had more success than he had. Great little player, little magician on his day.
Isn't he playing second fiddle to Fernandez?
He is these days, yeah. Again, at 33, I guess his involvements are going to be limited, but I just think he's been our one in the post-Fergie era. He's been that one signing that I felt, we've done a disservice to. Really, he if he'd been utilised properly and played in the right position, I think he would have been had a much more successful period with us.
I wonder if so I believe it was Mourinho that let him go at Chelsea.
Yeah.
And then by a twist of fate, he ends up having Mourinho again at United. And I kind of got the impression that Mourinho didn't like him as a player. And so whatever he did with him, he got rid of him. I'm certain he was player of the season previously when he was at Chelsea. Mourinho comes back, doesn't like what he sees, and gets rid of him. He goes to United. Mourinho follows him, and exactly the same thing happens. Sometimes it happens like that. You get managers, they don't really trust or believe in the skill. I mean, we can see it, but the way in which Mourinho plays, and so when you say Man United giving him a disservice, I wonder if it was more Mourinho disservice rather than the club. I was going
to say, I think Mourinho,
yeah,
I got the feeling that he would come in and then almost like, pick a fight with a senior player.
Yeah.
He wanted to show who was boss and what have you. I think Mata was the victim of that, really. And Mourinho's done it just about most clubs that he's gone to. A player who is very important for them suddenly finds themselves sidelined, not being played. I mean, Dele Alli at Tottenham, perhaps with some justification. But again, it's Mourinho, just flexing his managerial muscle and not playing someone who, as you say, was outstanding for the club in previous seasons. I think Mata was a victim of that. Dele Alli, and there were others.
Keith, do you think, Keith, that as a United fan, that Mourinho did the same thing to Schweinsteiger?
Well, the person who did it to most at United was Luke Shaw.
Right. Okay.
He got right stuck into Luke Shaw. It seems to be there was a story of a director at Spielberg or somebody that used to come on set first day and fire somebody just to show his strength or something. And I have a feeling it's a little bit of that, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
And that's the sort of thing that these kind of types of managers do. Ashley Cole got the brunt of it the second time, didn't he, as well? A little bit at Chelsea, although he was perhaps coming to the end. But I think, and Rooney, of course. I mean, Mourinho effectively finished Wayne Rooney's career at United when he probably still had more to offer than he was given a chance to.
Very obviously, we know how good Mourinho is as a manager. He's proved it, done it, been there, won everything. But maybe that is the one weakness in his style of management, that he must be number one. He must be bigger than any of the players. And because he is bigger than any of the players, anyone that is a big player at the club either has to toe the line or they're removed.
Ferguson did the same.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's how you do it, isn't it? Ferguson wasn't just picking a fight for fight's sake.
No.
Ferguson was doing it to make a point. I think Mourinho just has that. He has a very temporary view, I think. He takes a very short-term view. He doesn't hang around places too long, which is a very important thing. He has that. He moves on very quickly. It's all about that siege mentality. If he can ruffle feathers and make everybody unsettled, it's part of his thing, isn't it? I don't like it personally, but I also But you can't, as Roger's saying, sorry, am I not letting you get a word in edgeways? Putting it on the chat. I do apologise.
No, I'm just as people comment, I just put something on because I think it's nice that we have it. It's more interactive. What I was going to say to you was, and I remember, I don't know, this was partly brought out in episode 15, but unfortunately the quality of the video wasn't very good. So I'm kind of trying to recycle a little bit of that comment, what I said in the previous episode in this one. When we look at the table as it stood, it does seem like at the moment, nothing's really going on in the middle of the table. It's all happening at the top and all happening at the bottom. And right now, both of those, they're colliding with each other. So we're seeing things where top needs points against bottom who needs points. Manchester United a month ago were pushing for Champions League qualification. They were pushing for it. I'd like to know, Keith, and this is also for you afterwards, Roger. I'd like to know, what do you think has happened why both Manchester United and arguably Chelsea as well have both gone off the boil? What do you think is the pivotal point? What do you think has happened with both of your clubs?
You want me to start? I'm gonna dispute what you're saying. I don't think we were ever pushing for fourth place. I think the only reason we were in with a shout was because Arsenal and Tottenham were opening the door. It wasn't a case of us pushing forward. It was a case of you guys going backwards. We shouldn't have been anywhere near it. We should have been out of that. We should have been out of that race 6-7 games ago. The reason we weren't is because Arsenal managed to lose 3 on the bounce, and Tottenham do what Tottenham do, which is beat Man City one week and lose to Brighton the next. So I don't think our play, our performances this season do not merit a top 4 finish in any way, shape or form. We do not play cohesively. Scott McTominay came out at the end of the Arsenal game and suggested there were problems in the dressing room, which is the worst kept secret in football at the moment. We're a shambles. We're an absolute shambles. And the season is stumbling to a conclusion for us. Personally, I'm almost hoping we drop low enough so we don't have to play in the blooming Conference League. But there we are. That's my ambition at the moment, is to try and stay out of Europe altogether, because I think
sorry, I know I want to ask the question to Keith, to Roger as well, but you've said that you've said exactly what I said last season. I felt that Arsenal were not good enough for Europe. We didn't have a big enough squad, and I said we need a season out of Europe where we're not distracted. That is the only way that we would be able to challenge for top 4. Now, I think the proof is in the pudding. We're not in Europe at the moment. We play once a week. We're playing teams. We're going to talk about the game today, but we're playing teams that are still in Europe, and it shows we are much more alert. We're much more ready to take on teams. And actually, Chelsea did the same thing a few years ago, but they won the Premier League. They were not in Europe, and they ended up winning the Premier League. Arsenal were never at the stage of being able to win it, but I think it's definitely helped us.
Well, that Thursday night game is a real issue, isn't it? Because if you're playing Thursday night, it means you can't play Saturday. You have to then play Sunday. It's very with Chelsea. Just briefly, Roger might back me up here or not. Again, season's over really as far as the league's concerned. You're not going to catch the top 2. That's been the case for some time. You're not going to drop out the top 4. It's just.
So let me bring in.
What is there to play for? You know.
Let me bring in Roger here. So Roger, I'll ask the question, and then I want you to carry on with what Keith was thinking about there. My original question was, what has happened to Chelsea over the last couple of games? In that you beat West Ham 1-0 at home, you then draw with Chelsea, and then obviously we'll talk about the game today. What has happened to Chelsea, and then tying with what Keith just said there, because I know you have an opinion on that.
Well, I have no inside knowledge, obviously. I don't know. Chelsea have won 2 cups this season, the Club World Cup and also the Super Cup. They've got to 2 finals. They've lost one. They're probably going to lose the next one as well in a fortnight's time. But I just think that some of the players think, we've won 2 trophies, we've got to 2 finals. That's a good season. We're going to get hopefully Champions League. We're not going to catch the top 2; they're streets ahead of us, and so they've sort of almost given up. I also think the uncertainty surrounding the club, what with the sanctions, with the new owners have not been appointed, they've not been able to make any contracts. They keep saying it's not made a difference, but I think it has. I think
it has to. Has to.
We should have tied people down like Rudiger a while back. If we're going to let Christensen go, fine, no problem there. But, there's a lot of others who are now going to enter the last year. We still don't know who's going to be the Chelsea owners. And I just think they've sort of reached a point where they think, we've had a decent season, we've won some stuff, we've got to 2 finals, we're challenged at the top end, although, we're not going to win it. I don't know. It frustrates me as a supporter because you want them to put on the shirt and give you 100%. I can take losing if the effort and commitment's there. And yet we were out-muscled today. We go ahead and then we just cruise along. It's sideways, backwards passing. No one wants to really create anything in the last third. They're looking for someone else to take responsibility. I wish I knew. I do think the current situation with the ownership of the club has probably had more of an effect than they're going to admit to. But that's all I can think of really. But it does look like they've already just going through the motions now for the last.
Are they already on holiday? Are they?
Well, I hesitate to say it, but yeah, it does.
Well,
to be honest.
I think what Mark Fraser said there. I think other teams have more fighting spirit. As Keith said, they should have been well clear, but possibly they got distracted with the sale.
It's a good comment.
It's a very good point. I was thinking, Keith, and I was wondering whether you would actually mention this. Is even though obviously we talked about Chelsea sanctions, club is on for sale, not quite sure what's going to happen in the future in terms of who the new owners were. But also, you mentioned that there is some disharmony in the changing room, but you never mentioned anything about the change of the guard, as in you have a manager who is technically a director of sport, not quite on the pulse. There's the talk of a new manager coming in. Would that not disrupt the harmony as well? The fact that whoever you're playing with right now won't be with you next season because he's going to be in Austria. You're going to have a new manager coming with a new style. Would that not also potentially mess with the harmony and could be a contributing factor?
It would if we hadn't known that for 6 months. I mean, that's been what we're saying really with, and this is my issue with frequent manager changes and interim managers in particular, is that it just creates this instability which permeates the club. Effectively, the owners, whoever it was who took the decision to make the change at the top, wrote the season off at the end of November. I mean, yes, there have been. I mean, Di Matteo is a classic example of an interim manager that can go on and do something extraordinary, but that's very, very rare in football. Normally, when you put somebody temporarily in charge, you've got players who. I mean, I would like to know who it was who's responsible for allowing Paul Pogba to run his contract down. It's things like that. There's no strength because David De Gea a few years ago under Louis van Gaal tried to push through a move to Real Madrid.
Yes, I remember.
And he really tried to push it through. And on the last day of the transfer window, I think a deal collapsed or something.
Yeah.
And Van Gaal brought in, I think it was Romero.
Yeah, Romero.
And basically installed him as number one and said to De Gea, sign a contract or don't play.
Yeah.
Now, why on earth somebody, perhaps this is where Ollie fell short. I don't think Ollie was a bad manager in terms of what he did with the team necessarily, but I think where he came up short, he didn't have the strength of character to say to someone like Pogba, sign or sit on the bench. That's what you've got to do. And unfortunately,
detriment because so you're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you are the manager, you are you're not necessarily you don't have the credentials, you don't have the pedigree behind you, you don't have you're not a Mourinho, you're not a Klopp, you're not one of the better managers out there. If you sit him on the bench and you lose, every United fan's going to say, well, why aren't you playing Pogba? Oh, is it a personality trait? Oh, are you doing a Mourinho? He's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't.
Yeah,
If he
very
doesn't
true.
play him, then he's going to be accused of, oh, you're bullying the player and you're messing with the harmony. But if you play him, you're weak. You're not listening to you're not listening to the harmony of the team.
And the question I would go back to is, would Ferguson have played him?
No, but this is
Not in a million years.
My argument
Ferguson sold him.
but my argument is that Ferguson would have got the best out of him, because Ferguson had a massive ability of getting the best out of the player.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a player who's not signing a contract.
No, but what I'm saying
And if he's not going to sign, he shouldn't be playing. And this whole thing is a debacle because he's been allowed to call the shots. And this is something. I mean, Nana will be watching this, and he gets on his soapbox about this. You give the players too much power.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Ferguson always had power. He always made sure that the power rested with him. Now, we might not like it. We might, think, oh, he got rid of a player. I remember when he sold Paul Ince, and I remember thinking, oh, what? Paul Ince was brilliant. Why are we? But you've got to have that control. And Paul Pogba has ruled the roost too much, in my opinion. If he's been a £90 million player.
Isn't he maybe being singled out as the scapegoat here? Like, the issues at Manchester United are not solely on Paul Pogba's doorstep. Come on, we can't.
No, they're not.
United are playing badly.
But he is an example of a player who has performed well below his capabilities for some time.
Very true. I agree.
He is the only. I would say he is probably the only. I mean, obviously Ronaldo aside, maybe Fernandes and maybe De Gea. He's probably one of four what you would define as world-class players in United's team.
Not Maguire.
Sorry?
Not Maguire.
Serious.
Oh, dear. You've done it again.
Dear, oh, dear.
Not Maguire. No, come on. You can't. Listen, I get it. I see what you're saying. So the issue is Pogba is a personality. He's been at this club twice because obviously you got rid of him before and then he's gone back again.
It should be a driving force. He should be a De Bruyne. He should be a David Silva. He should be a player that is integral to everything that United do. He should be the heartbeat of that team.
Yeah, but isn't that the case when he puts on a French shirt?
Yeah.
He is, and in the French shirt, he is the beating heart of the club, which means that obviously he's not happy. I think it's fair to say he's not happy. He's not trying. He's running out his contract. Now, don't get me wrong. Arsenal we are guilty of that. We have had so many players that we just waved goodbye. We spent all the money on them and we've waved goodbye because we haven't had very good contractual talks, and we've ended up losing money and watching people run down their contracts and they leave. So kind of, United are going to have to start afresh, start again. I still think that you are stronger than the likes of Wolves, the likes of the teams behind you, where you probably will still be in Europe next year. Because I don't think, as much as we say you'd like a season with United not in Europe, financially, you need to be.
Yeah. Well, Rangnick was asked that question. And he said, we wouldn't even entertain the idea of deliberately dropping out of Europe. I mean, it's just not. Professional footballers don't do that, and I wouldn't want to see them do that. But if circumstances conspired so that it happened, then so be it. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Okay. So Roger, carrying on with what we said before about the current mood of the club. In the news at the moment, we know that there are potential buyers, and these are not poor people. They've got billions behind them, absolute billions of pounds behind them. Chelsea are in a good position. They are ready to, they're going to be bought by someone. They are going to be moving forwards. Can you explain to me what happened today against Everton?
I was watching so many silly individual errors. Alonso lost the ball a lot. He was making silly passes. He was running with it when he should have moved it on. I mean, all credit to Everton. They were hungry. They were aggressive. They got in Chelsea's face. And, they wanted it because they needed the points. We had people like Havertz who seemed more interested in fighting than playing football. Couldn't take the rough stuff that Everton were handing out. I thought Fabian Delph, and who's the other guy that was there?
Gordon.
Holgate, I thought was another niggly person. He was every little thing. He put his foot in. He was aggressive. But we've got to manage that. We've got to cope with that, and they didn't. And I say Jorginho, I think, slows the game down an awful lot. There wasn't too many forward passes from him or telling passes. Everton packed it behind us, so Chelsea just ran out of ideas about how to do it. But I thought Alonso was poor, Jorginho was poor. Dave made a silly mistake. Why there was lots of silly performances. Reece James had an off day. Mount's picking up a yellow card nearly every game now.
Is it the end of the road for Aspilicueta?
No.
Do you know what? I think it will be because he's made a couple of mistakes. I would be happy to see Alonso go, Jorginho. Thanks for everything you've done, guys. Dave go. We know Rudiger's going and Christensen. I think Kante is coming to the end of his powers. He's not as good as he used to be a couple of seasons ago, and he gets more injuries. So I think we've got to draft in the new guys. Thank the others for what they've done. I think we need to look up front again, Werner as well. What happened? I don't know. They just didn't seem to be up for the fight. And Everton, was spoiling for it. They wanted to get in our faces and get the ball and rough Chelsea up, and they succeeded.
But Roger, I have to say it to you. There was a statistic that came on the screen that showed that Chelsea their pass rate was phenomenal. But
it was all backwards and sideways.
The point was this just a bad day at the office? It wasn't.
No.
I said earlier on. They were just outplayed, but they weren't.
No, Chelsea have been doing this for a long time. This sideways, backwards pass. You look at your Liverpool and your Man City, and they are direct. They get the ball and they move forward. We run 20 yards forward, turn and come back 10 yards and pass it to Rudiger. It happens all the time with Chelsea. It frustrates me that the penetration doesn't seem to be there. And this is why I think it's a mindset thing. I don't know if Tuchel's responsible for it because he comes out afterwards and he's saying, it's poor, it's this, that, and the other. But why we pass it to Jorginho, who passes it to Alonso, who passes it back to Rudiger, who puts it out to Dave, who then sends it to Reece, who comes back. And I'm thinking, there's no forward passing. Now, whether there's no running up in front of them for them to pass to, or whether they're just more concerned about keeping the ball than actually doing anything with it, I don't know. But for me, I find it incredibly frustrating. Yeah, we have a better pass rate. I think we had over 70% possession.
Yeah,
what did we do with it?
It was really good. Like you didn't, I know that it's. I remember Nana once saying that it's very easy for us to just be goals scored commentary, and we tend to look at what happened at the result of the game, not necessarily what was going on during the game. And actually, the statistics showed that Chelsea were playing good football. I understand the pass rate backwards and whatnot, but my understanding is when you have the ball and they can't score. And keeping in mind, you're trying to wear them out. Fine.
Johnny, when we have the ball, we can't score either.
Yeah, there is that. But you're probing, you're trying to find weaknesses. And it just felt like
some teams play very well without the ball. Mourinho's teams always did.
Yeah,
can play well without the ball. It's interesting. You've mentioned Jorginho a couple of times. I don't understand the fuss around that player. There was talk of him getting the Ballon d'Or last year, and for the life of me couldn't work.
Won the Euros, won the Champions
League. His contribution in the Euro final was to commit a foul on Grealish for which he should have been red carded and miss a penalty in the shootout. I've never really seen what he brings because I like to see central midfield players, and we were talking about this on the last show, Johnny, about how you need someone in the centre of the park who drives the team on. And I don't see Jorginho doing that. Yes, he's got his silly little jump penalty that he does, which I think should be banned. I don't think
Johnny,
he is.
I don't think he is.
No.
I think he's he had a purple patch last season where he really was exceptional, and he was doing just that. But far too often when I watch Chelsea games, he gets the ball in the middle of the park. They say he dictates the play. He doesn't. He just passes to another player, or it's passed back. And I've seen him do a couple of killer forward passes, and I thought, what an exceptional pass. But it's few and far between. He doesn't do it consistently enough. A lot of the time, he's just concerned about not losing possession, so he's passing back. He can be a great player. We've seen it in flashes, but we don't see it consistently. When you compare him to someone like a De Bruyne, no comparison at all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, De Bruyne is a much more direct type of player, isn't he?
But even Patrick Vieira in his prime, or Yaya Toure, or Paul Scholes. If you want to see someone dictate the pace of a game, Paul Scholes was the master, knowing when to go short, long, when to go forwards, when to go sideways. Never lost the ball.
No, I totally agree.
Well, picture it this way, and I think I've had this conversation before. Tuchel does see his worth, which is part of the reason why he plays. And obviously, Italy see his worth as well. And in his cabinet, he has a Euro. I mean, whether it's deserved or not, he was in a team that wins things. So maybe we can't see his worth on and off the field.
Well, he doesn't show his worth, Johnny. He must be doing something exceptional in training.
I'm kind of
assuming he crosses the line on match day, it all goes sour.
There was a
put it this way: when Gallagher comes back, there ain't going to be any.
Well, it's interesting you say that because obviously, Ruben Loftus-Cheek now seems to have cemented his way.
He stepped up
into the squad, and he does penetrate. He runs. He's good on the ball. He does do a lot of. I mean, you need a holding player, which is obviously not. I mean, Kante is meant to be that kind of holding midfielder, the stopper. He's not doing that at the moment, which is probably putting more pressure on those players that were not. They didn't have that last year. Last year they had a bouncer in front of them, being able to stop any of those kind of things. Now they don't have it. It'll be interesting to see what happens next season. In terms of who's moving, who's going where. I think before Chelsea, there was a lot of worry about what was going on. But now that we know that Chelsea are going to be bought and the money is going to be there, I would imagine that they would definitely improve on their squad. I just wanted to add something that Mark said earlier on. I know we were talking about it earlier, but he said it used to be that when players sign contracts, they would make a real effort to play for the club and be proud to do so. But now it looks as soon as issues, they give up and they want to move on. Do you think that's a fair statement of the current climate of footballers today?
I think the players have far too much power. We've seen that. We've already touched upon that tonight. And they know they can run their contracts down and leave for a big signing on fee. Rudiger's a classic example. He plays. Chelsea were willing. They were willing to give him the 230 grand a week, but his agent wanted a 10 million signing on fee.
No, it's insane.
And Chelsea said, we're not paying that. That's what the rumours are coming out on the various discussion boards. So he just sat quiet. He's going to get that from Real Madrid because his agent's going to get an enormous signing on fee. But yeah, I think players have far too much power. Keith said, the last real big boss was Ferguson. He was, if he didn't play his way, didn't do what he wanted, you were out. And I think the only two bosses who have anywhere nearing that is Guardiola and Klopp because of their success. The rest, I don't think, are in that same bracket where they can dictate to these players with multi-million-pound contracts.
I think Arteta.
He's getting there.
Arteta has proven that he's
getting there, Johnny. But I don't think he's there. In that elite.
No,
just yet.
Definitely not. No, he's not. I mean, obviously, he's won an FA Cup. He has won. He has got some silverware behind him. But what I'm saying is, in terms of, I'm the boss. I'm running the show. Arteta does seem to be coming across as being that way, and it
was a brave move shipping Aubameyang out. That was a brave move, no question.
Yeah,
I,
definitely. Intake
you know,
minerals. um, so, and I know,
could I just ask Roger something?
go for it, please do.
I mean, watching Chelsea slightly from a distance, I think you've probably got a better youth setup now than you've had in a long time. With obviously Mason Mount, probably selling Abraham was a mistake considering how good he's been. Yeah, Gallagher obviously. I really like Reece James. And I think with Chilwell on the other side, I think when he's fit, I think your fullbacks are fantastic. So there are players in there, mainly, and Mason Mount is you know, looks like will be a real class act for years to come. So I think there is a core group of youngsters there that could form the basis for a good side going forward. But I guess it all depends on
loan.
I think I agree with you, Keith. The youngsters are they're good. They are good. We've got Armando Broja out on loan. Gallagher. I think Billy Gilmore, sadly in a team that's going down, but you know, he'll be good. There's a young lad called Levi Colwill who's been doing absolutely brilliant at Huddersfield, and they're talking about him coming back possibly. So yeah, I think they've got a lot of good youngsters with a few experienced heads around them. Hopefully we can go again next year, but you know, with the quality that we have, and with the quality that they've shown in the past, and that they can win big tournaments. I mean, how can you compare the team that played today with a team that played Real Madrid and literally played them off the park?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. We were brilliant against Real Madrid, then we come back and we struggle against Everton. It just doesn't equate. So yeah, you know, next year.
I think obviously we're getting to the very end of the season now, and yeah, I know that most of the commentators always say, oh, you know, they've got one eye on the old lounger by the pool because obviously they've got nothing to play for or whatnot. But it is hotting up at the top end. Chelsea, in a sense, are in that anomaly spot where they can be caught. And I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, if Chelsea continue to play like they will do, they will get picked off by you know, the remaining games. I know I mentioned it before, and I'm going to say it again because I wear the Arsenal shirt. Arsenal were battered by Crystal Palace. They were beaten by Brighton. They were then beaten by Southampton. And those are 9 points that I thought Arsenal should definitely 100% get, because it would equate to being beaten by Chelsea, being beaten by Manchester United. The fact that we won both of those games has put it back in the mix. So you've got Liverpool and Manchester City battling it out to see who's going to win the league. Chelsea, who are in that period, that space where they could be caught, but they're relatively safe in the sense that they're going to get Champions League qualification.
Unless they go into administration.
Whoa, no, they would never do that to them.
Well, it's possible.
Never.
They were talking about it at the beginning.
Deducted, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that was talked about. I don't know how close or realistic that is. No. But if the sanctions were to bite, it would be horribly unfair. I'm not one. I wouldn't be rubbing my hands at it. I think it would be disgraceful. But it was mooted as a possibility when the sanctions began.
Administration is based on bad financial decisions from the board. This is completely out of their control, and I think it would be criminal and probably a legal case for the Chelsea board if they were then said, right, you're now going to have points deducted, like teams like Derby. You know, I know we're going off topic, but Derby, had they not had their points deducted, would be mid-table. They wouldn't be.
I think it's a very unfair sanction because it punishes the wrong people. But
exactly.
You know, the people that leave the mess can move on, then it's the club that are left with the problem and the fans. So it's very unfair. But
no, I get that. But we're now in a situation where Manchester United are playing Brentford tomorrow. I think it's a home game, and for the first time, I'm actually not sure what that score will be, because you know, I would have said, because Brentford have done so well in the last, you know, they had a fantastic start of the season. Then they kind of went missing during the middle part, and now they found a second wind, and now they're winning games home and away and playing really well. I'm not so sure what that result will be. I mean, are you confident that it's going to be a good 3 points home win for United tomorrow?
Me?
Yeah, because I think Manchester United are playing Brentford next week.
Yeah. Am I confident? I'm never confident going into any Man United game ever at the moment. I don't. I believe. Well, when you watch the way we played against Norwich City, or the rock bottom and relegated, and you see how we opened the door and let them back into the game, I have no idea how it's going to go. At the same time,
you did win.
We did. At the same time, there's a part of me that. How can I say this without sounding like it's a part of me that's gone past caring. It's
you've got to care.
What difference does it make to anything now? These are games that I'm just waiting for the end of the season and seeing what happens next in the transfer window. I mean, I know that sounds really disingenuous, but I this season almost finished for us the moment we lost to Atletico Madrid, really.
Oh, so could that then be, because I know that I felt, and this is just my own personal opinion, that Chelsea have not been the same team since they got kicked out of the Champions League.
Yeah, it was the last game that meant anything, wasn't it?
Yeah,
really?
And it feels like Chelsea have been not at their best ever since they lost that game. But I also think that United also are in the same. They're almost in the same position that when they got beat, they also seem to have hit that rocky road. I mean, obviously, we've had some personal tragedies in Ronaldo's life with his family that affect his ability to score goals and actually be interested in football. It's interesting that little things can wobble a team, can literally take away the the harmony, and they end up playing worse. So you've got to, in any world, if you're a United fan, you look at Brentford and you must be thinking easy 3 points. But it seems like
no, not at the moment. Not the way we're playing.
Brentford have got a really good record against the top teams.
Yeah,
very good.
Beat us. I think they did Arsenal.
Beat Arsenal.
Yeah. Liverpool a run for their money. They're not a rubbish side. They fight.
Well, any team that contains Christian Eriksen is going to be a problem.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know who's going to win, but I could easily see Brentford getting something out of that game, whether a draw or even sneaking a win. And that's because Brentford are good. They're not a pushover. They came up and they've done really well. So I'm going to watch that one with interest because I think that's going to be a really good match. And I wouldn't surprise me if Brentford shade it. Wouldn't surprise me.
It could be. It's going to be a difficult game. I think it's definitely going to be, a game that will be watched by a lot of people because it will be if they lose, then it will definitely mean them getting sucked into a European qualification game. Will they qualify for Europe full stop? Because the likes of West Ham, and if West Ham win it, they would be in it for next season. They are still in the league and still trying to get points, and they could quite easily catch up with United. Now, Arsenal have the FA Cup final on the 12th of May. The unfortunate thing is that game is being played at Tottenham. We have the North London derby, the biggest game, I think, in Arsenal's season. But there is one thing that I'm praying for, and I'd like to know your opinion on this, right? So Arsenal's next game is they're playing Leeds at home. But Tottenham's next game is Liverpool away, or in fact, actually, I'm not quite sure. Actually, is it?
I think it's at Anfield.
So, if Liverpool win that game, and if Arsenal beat Leeds, the North London derby will mean nothing. So I just wanted to put that in there. The North London derby that everyone is muting about could be potentially meaningless. But
North London derby's never meaningless.
So the North London derby at the moment is being picked as the final fourth spot position. But, and this is the thing, right? And this is what I think is amazing. If Liverpool lose that game to Tottenham, it will put the title in Manchester. If Liverpool win the game, potentially Champions League qualification for Arsenal. It is hotting up at the top. But, there's one more bit of it to add. If if Arsenal win that game and Chelsea win or lose their next game, we'll be on equal points. Chelsea will then get sucked into a 100% race to the finish.
With no momentum.
Who would have thought that a month ago?
Yeah.
1 month ago, who would have thought that Chelsea could be caught by Arsenal and Tottenham? I certainly didn't think it was possible. But there's now only 3 points gap between us. But, and there's one more but, and I've butted quite a few times. If there's one thing I do know, when it comes to these kind of crunch matches, no one ever picks it. No one ever chooses. It's like no one ever wants qualification. I don't understand. I just thought I'd put that out there. Sorry.
Well, every team's done their best to not qualify, haven't
they? Win. I don't want to win. I don't want to win either. I won't win. You'll win this week. I'll win next week, but I'll lose today. I mean, it's crazy. I don't understand it. But so there is only 1 point. Sorry, there's only 1 point between. Is it 1 point between Liverpool,
Arsenal and Tottenham?
There's 2 points between Arsenal and Tottenham, but there's only 1 point between City and Liverpool. Now, obviously, Chris isn't here today, so he's not here to be able to gloat on the fact that they are just impossible to beat. Liverpool just seem like they are just on this wave of winning, and it just seems really crazy that if they win the league, then potentially the quad is on. I said this to Chris a few weeks ago. I said, is it possible? And he was being his usual, modest self. No. But secretly, he's thinking that's possible. Now, we have some Champions League games coming up this week. The big one, obviously, is going to be between Man City and Real Madrid. 4 goals were scored by City, 3 goals by Real. Do you think Real can turn it around again against City? What's your opinion on the return match in Spain?
I think City will do it, and I think Liverpool will do it. I think we've got an All-England Champions League final. That's where I'd go with it. I don't think Madrid. They might do, but I don't know. No.
So, Real Madrid scored 3 goals away from home. Not playing particularly well, but just taking their chances and doing it. They've just won La Liga, so now there is 0 pressure on them in the league. They could lose every game now, and it wouldn't make a difference. They've won the league. So I wonder, and this is to you, Chris, to you, Keith, sorry. Do you think, since it's habit, do you think that there could potentially be an upset?
I'm not sure it would be an upset. I mean, back in the day, if you lost 4-3 away from home in a Champions League semi-final, you'd be saying result because of the away goals rule, which is no longer relevant. So, again, I've said this before, but what a great decision that was, because it's created these really interesting open games where teams just go for it. Any team that contains Mr. Benzema has got a chance. Any player that can miss 2 penalties in a game at the weekend and then do a panicker in the Champions League semi-final deserves the next 4 balloon doors for ICA. I mean, that's insane. Vinicius Junior was electric.
Can we just talk about that goal, please, where he dummied Fernandinho?
Yeah.
The ball. because he knew you've been following the man all game. Let's see what you do. That goal was just splendid. Honestly, one of the best goals I've seen this season.
I don't know whether Walker will be back.
Well,
I don't know what, because he twisted his knee, didn't he, against Atletico. Now I don't. So that a lot will hinge on whether Kyle Walker plays, because I think without Kyle Walker, they could have a real problem at right back with him, because that was. I mean, feel a bit sorry for Fernandinho, because he's not a right back and he's 36 or whatever he is, and he's been a great servant to City, and to be put in that situation against a player with that much ability was difficult. So that'd be an interesting battle. If Walker's there, you'd expect Walker to be able to cope with Vinicius Junior better. But yeah, I mean, Karim Benzema and Luka Modric are just they're a class above, aren't they? And I it's not going to be straightforward for City, but you would think that if the big guns show up for them, if your De Bruyne's and your Bernardo Silvas and the like do what they can do, then they certainly will feel confident. But you've got to stop Benzema, haven't you? You know.
Roger, do you think that Benzema? Do you think Benzema will score in the next game?
You know, you could never discount this guy putting the ball in the back of the net. He is that good.
I know.
I think City will edge it. I agree totally with about having Kyle Walker in the side is necessary to negate Vinicius Junior. But it's a close one. It's very close to call. Do you know? I'm going to sit back and enjoy it as a neutral.
Mm-hmm.
We've got some class players on both sides. We mentioned Modric and Benzema. But you've got Foden, Grealish, De Bruyne. You know, you've got some great players there. So, exactly, Silva. Yeah. So I'm going to sit back and hope for a really good match, and I think we'll get it. I would like to see the English team shade it. Mm-hmm. I've always said if Chelsea are not in Europe, I always support the English teams anyway, because it keeps our coefficient higher. It means we get, all the extra berths in the competitions. Yeah. So I'll be cheering on for City and then Liverpool, because I want the English teams to do well now that Chelsea aren't there. And I think that both of them will go through, and it will be an all-English final.
Liverpool are there, aren't they? No.
I was about to say, and obviously, there's not much point talking about the Villarreal. I mean, don't get me wrong, Villarreal have played amazingly well to get where they are. They beat Bayern Munich, but they came up against a Liverpool team that are just hungry and wanted it more.
Well, you can't defend your way to a 3-0 win, can you? So that's the end of
that. But just change the subject slightly. Mark Fraser, how do you think Rangers and West Ham will do in their semi-final? So obviously West Ham were beaten by Frankfurt. I think was it only 1-0 maybe? I think only 1-0. Or was it 2? I can't remember now, but I know that there's a 1-goal deficit. And I think Rangers as well. I'm not quite sure of the Rangers game, but either way, they both are in semi-finals. So there has been representation of British teams in the European Cups this season, which is quite amazing, and actually a really good testament to the English game, to the British game. British teams are doing really, really well. And obviously Leicester as well. They are in the conference, so they're also in for a shout. Seems like
it was 2-1. They lost 2-1.
Who lost 2-1? West Ham.
West Ham, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Rangers game, was that a draw? Maybe? I can't remember now. I think I'll have to get it up on there because I'm not quite sure. But either way, Rangers are 1-0 down. Thank you, Mark. So Mark says Rangers are 1-0 down. I think that game was played at home. I can't remember. I must admit, I took my eye off the ball on that one, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe you could let me know, Mark.
No, Rangers are at home in the second leg.
So that is a good thing for Rangers. They've got a good home record.
They got Ibrox.
They could
the Ibrox factor.
Around. It'll be interesting to see where they go, because they all. So the West Ham game. So just very quickly, I know we're getting very close to the end of the show. Arsenal obviously played West Ham today. They beat them 2-1. I believe that as well as Arsenal played, we benefited to the fact that we were not in Europe. West Ham have got a European game they played on Thursday night. Now they're playing Sunday evening. Now they're going to be playing again in the second round. It's always great when you are not the team playing all week, playing against a team that played Thursday night. You've got the advantage. Whether people want to admit it or not, it is very difficult, especially if you've exerted a lot of energy on Thursday night in a European game to then turn it on again on the Sunday. And I'd love to know the statistics of teams that play in Europe. What's the percentage of those same teams winning their return game on the Sunday? It's quite interesting to know. Because I would imagine that there is a slight disadvantage. For years, European teams have looked after their clubs when it came to competitions like this. They have a winter break. We don't have that. There's been games which have been. I remember a few years ago, a Spanish team actually had their league game rearranged so that they could play in the Champions League fresh, which I don't think we'd ever be seen done here. Maybe not fair, I don't know, but that was just how it was done.
So it's the TV schedules that are the problem, aren't they?
Yeah, but it was rearranged. They actually were able to rearrange their league games so that they just had 2 games, 2 semi-finals back to back. So my last question for you guys is: if Man City beat Real Madrid and Liverpool beat Villarreal, who will pick up the cup this year? Who do you think will do it?
Well, I've gone for Liverpool in the league, and nothing's changed my view of that. So I can't have them doing the quadruple, so I'm going to go for City.
Roger, who do you think is going to win the Champions League this year?
If it's out of those two, I'd like City to, because Liverpool are insufferable when they win the Champions League. They go on about it. Let's have another star on the badge, So I'd like City to do it in that respect. But I'd have to say it'd be very difficult to vote against Liverpool. They just seem to be hitting it now at this end of the season. They've got one trophy. They got Chelsea in the cup final, and I can't see them losing that, to be honest. After the way
so I was going to ask that actually. So you think that you won't be able to beat them in the FA Cup?
Oh, going on current form, Johnny, we got no chance. We've got no chance on current form. I'm going to sit there watching it through my fingertips, because I honestly think at the moment they're going to just dismantle us. They're much better. So we'll see. But no, if Liverpool win that, the momentum they will have going into the Champions League final, and the belief that they'll come into it is extraordinary. So I would say probably Liverpool, although if I had to choose, I'd like City to do it.
Yeah.
Just to stop Liverpool from, being the insufferable balls that they can be when they win the Champions League or the European Cup.
So I have a thought here. If you are a Liverpool player, right? Or no, if you're a Man City player, you played Liverpool in the league, you draw. You then play them again, and I think you draw again. Maybe did they draw?
Two draws in the league.
Yeah, you draw. Then you play them in the cup. Was it
semi-final?
Semi-final, and they dismantle you in the first half. Second half, City played better. If you're a Man City player, do you start to think, can we beat this team? Do you think mentally goes into your head that it's set? Do you think that at some point you're thinking to yourself, we've played them now 3 times, we've scored goals, but we've just not been able to beat this team, and the nature of which Liverpool took them apart in the first half of the semi-final was frightening. If you keep it in mind that if they both get to the Champions League final, that will be the 4th time that they would have played each other. If you're Guardiola, what do you tell your players?
Well, he knows how to win Champions League finals, doesn't he, Guardiola?
Yeah,
He did enough of them at Barcelona and at
Bayern.
he definitely won a Champions League at Bayern, didn't he? So yeah,
No,
I mean,
not with Bayern. He's only ever won Champions Leagues with
With
Barcelona.
Messi.
Yeah, he has.
I thought who was wasn't he the manager in 2013
no,
when they won? Was he
no,
not
no. He's only won the Champions League with
with
Barcelona.
Barca?
Yeah,
Okay, all right. I mean, but he's certainly that's certainly a competition that he's been brought in to win that competition, isn't he? That's why City have got him, no question. I don't think when you look at City's squad, they have a reason to fear anyone because they've got a lot more strength in depth than Liverpool. So they're going to be. He will know how to sort of rotate things in a way that he'll have no FA Cup final to think about. Although that's not the last game of the season, is it? But anyway, yeah. But he's certainly. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't think City fear Liverpool. I don't think.
sorry,
I
Roger,
don't
what
think
was
they. Well, you're right in what you're saying, Keith. They shouldn't because they've got the players to compete. But I think what Johnny was saying is it's a mental thing.
Yeah,
When they go on the pitch, Liverpool have dismantled them in the first half of the semi-final. They haven't been able to beat them in the league, so they can certainly compete with them on the pitch. But mentally, are they thinking we can't get past this side? And that's the problem. A lot of the football is mental at that stage, and I could definitely see that being an issue because Liverpool, are certainly dominant when they play them. So mentally, are they thinking Liverpool again? We're going to struggle,
yeah.
and that's that little percentage which gives Liverpool the advantage.
Expected to go to penalties again then.
I don't know. I don't
Kepa's
think
not
so.
taking one.
I remember a few years ago, under the Wenger years, I used to say that when we played Chelsea, it was a mental thing. Drogba used to bully our defenders, and mentally, Arsenal were not. They were beaten before the game started.
Yeah.
And it never used to be like that. Arsenal used to go to Tottenham and win. Sorry, used to go to Chelsea and Tottenham actually, and they'd win for fun. And then Chelsea obviously ascended, and then Chelsea became the best team in London, and actually Europe. And it was a mental thing. Even before they kicked off, you could see that there was fear in the mindset of the Arsenal players, and that was the reason why I asked that question, because I kind of feel like when the Man City, and if obviously we're speaking about if they get to the final, if Liverpool get to the final and they play City, I almost feel like the Man City players will be lining up and thinking, how do we
Absolutely.
how do we beat this team that we've not been able to beat this season?
I'd like to see a Pep Guardiola Jurgen Klopp head to head in the years they've been together across the whole however long Pep's been there, and what their record is against one another.
That would be yeah, that'd be very interesting. So Mark said, if Liverpool press hard right from the offset, as Roger says, they will get into their heads. Yeah, I know. Liverpool don't give you time to think about what you can do on the ball. They're on you. They pounce. I think
but that high line is in itself a strength and a weakness, because a team like City are probably the best equipped team to play around that press.
Absolutely.
Because everybody's comfortable on the ball and everybody's capable of springing those traps, and Liverpool leave huge gaps behind them. Which
would you agree with me here if I said to you that a Man City with Kane in their strike force win the Champions League, but without having a proper recognizable striker, they can't do it. They've gone all.
But Jesus is coming good at the right time, isn't he?
That's very, very true. But when you think about the way in which City play, if you had put Kane in that team, they're scoring a lot more goals than they are. And they scored a lot of goals already. But the reason why Liverpool are so good is because they've got 3 of them that do that, and they all do it well. And if Jota's not playing, Diaz plays. If Diaz isn't playing, they'd have got Firmino if he's not injured. They've already got Salah. They've got
Jota.
not the oh my goodness.
Salah, Mane.
They've got Mane. They have on the field some real hungry strikers, and City have good passers of the ball. They'll pass their way around to score. Yeah, they've got De Bruyne who emerges from the midfield. Jesus has hit some good form, but isn't that the problem? That killer instinct goal scorer just doesn't exist in the City team. That's why they struggle against a team like Liverpool, because when it comes to pressing, Liverpool press back, and they've got strikers that can score, while City will press, but then they have to continue to press and score. Do you understand what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a different style of press as well, isn't it? It's that it's a more patient game. I mean, tactically, it will be fascinating, but I think City certainly have the ammunition to hurt Liverpool, but whether they it'll all be down to the day, won't it? But I don't think they'll fear them. I don't think City fear them.
No, that's fair enough. The last comment I'm going to put from here from Mark says Fergie was the master of it. All I can say is Keegan. Now I remember, love it. If we could beat them, he was, it was soul destroying when he saw Stan Collymore running through.
Fact.
Broke his heart.
Chris isn't here, but I can. Benitez is fact, man. He's just as good.
Honestly, amazing. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for helping me out here on episode 16. Unfortunately, as I said before, Chris was not able to join us. His flight was delayed, and so I have had Roger and Keith understudying, supporting me on the show today. We have got some great football ahead of us. Yes, we have Manchester United. They'll be playing Brentford. We've got the Champions League games, which we will no doubt be talking about on Wednesday evening. Our next show is at 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Our shows are 7 p.m. Wednesdays and Sundays. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up for me, please, and subscribe to the channel. We are small, but we are getting bigger. Guys, is there anything you'd like to say before we leave it there?
No, I enjoyed it.
Happy to leave it there. Thanks, Johnny.
It's been a good weekend.
Yeah, I know. Well, all eyes are going to be on Old Trafford tomorrow as we see the Bees make their way up there. And will they sting United, or will the Red Devils come up top? We will soon find out. But tune in again with us on Wednesday night for the next show. Guys, take care. See you all in the next show.
Okay, take care.